Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Jamie Markinet. I'm Vice President, Music Insights and Industry Relations at Luminate. And I am incredibly excited to be here today to talk about superfans and what they mean to our industry. We've all heard this word a lot over the last couple of years, but we're really going to dive in on their value. Who is the superfan? We'll also talk about future trends in superfandom as well. And we've got a really great group of panelists as well to discuss these topics. So I'll pass it to you to please introduce yourselves.
Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. I'm Mitra. I am the president of HXG, which is the joint venture between Hive and Geffen, who created the group, the first ever global girl group, Cat's Eye. Happy to be here. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I feel really good vibe here. My first time in South by. I'm from Korea. 14 hours of flight. President of Weavers. For somebody who might now know about Weavers, we've been around for 6 years, starting from a couple of K-pop groups, including BTS. Hope I could see some army carrots. Woo! Good. So what we're doing is connecting superstars and global superstars and superfans around the world. Thank you for having me here. Good to see you.
Hi, I am Sarah Janeski or Januszewski. You can call me Sarah J. It's complicated. I'm Director of Industry Relations at Tidal, the streaming service. So I'm the connection point between Tidal and labels, artists, management, you name it. I have a background also in artist management and artist marketing and media coaching for a ton of artists. So excited to be here and to dive into superfans.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, everybody. And at Luminate, I also help our clients and the industry kind of sift through some of the bigger trends in the music industry. And if you've followed some of our publications recently, we've talked a lot about superfans. And just at level set, before we jump into the conversation, I wanted to just share a few stats of superfans. So we have seen that Goldman Sachs in their Music in the Air report last year called out that superfans represent over $4 billion to the industry. Through today's conversation, we're going to talk about how that value is kind of shown as well. But on the Luminate side in our consumer research, what we're also seeing is there are more superfans, actually. A couple of years ago, we said that 18% of music listeners were superfans. That number is now up to 20%. So what this represents is more fans engaging with artists in more ways, which is incredibly exciting. How they start to exhibit this, and we're going to dive into a lot of these topics, but we do see them, superfans are more involved with live music. They're more involved with merch purchases. They're more involved with spending more money on physical product as well. So they represent an outsized volume and outsized dollar amount as well to the industry because they are so invested in these artists that they love. So as we go through this panel, we're going to start talking about superfans. We're going to start helping you to also identify, who might be your superfans as well if you're an artist in the room. But I want to kick it off with just a conversation on who are superfans. So June, I'm actually going to throw to you first here.
Okay.
Who are superfans? What kind of unique characteristics or behaviors do they exhibit?
Thank you, Jamie. I think this is a very good starting question. My simple answer to that might be the level of dedication and also active participation in an artist's career and success together. So when I see that, we cannot just talk about one single type. There's a spectrum of fandom behavior. So it feels better seeing the vibe of Austin here because I was a bit worried before I jump in here. And after I walk around the street for a while, I got to know that I can distinguish a lot of eyes, superfans' eyes. So that's better. That made me more comfortable right now. So talking of that spectrum, that starts from you discover something, song or content, video from YouTube, either from algorithm or recommendation from your friend, and you got to know about a song or something. Then once you like it, then you start digging into it, explore, search YouTube, Google, and figure out what are the other things around it. And after that, once you really like it, then there's the moment when you start looking for a concert or try to buy albums or merch. And you go there. And I think most of the people here are very used to that experience, enjoy it. So that's kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say normal, but a very, that's the case. But Superfan, as you mentioned, there's a further step after that. So out of the data we could see, one of the differentiator we could find was the moment when you start looking for the other people with the same interest or with same love, so that you can better connect with them. It makes people happier, and it's more rewarding experience talking about the things you love. Then after that, there's more steps. I won't talk about everything, but once you're devoted enough, then you turn to the advocate, ambassador, evangelist of an artist or of the content. So that's the spectrum we see. And I think I think that's how we see from the service and data.
Oh, fantastic! Yes, and the engagement and the community aspect of it, yep. Correct? You know, Mitra, from your perspective as well, who are superfans? What do they show, and how do they display?
Well, first of all, you know, my background is in multiple genres, right? Before I even delved into K-pop, it was pop, it was hip-hop, it was legacy acts. But no fandom has blown me away more than the K-pop fandom. And their level of devotion and the psychology of that fandom is different, right? They want to be part of the story. They want to be part of the narrative. One of the reasons why Bang wanted to do this joint venture with Interscope, with Geffen, was he saw what K-pop was doing around the world. And one of the key things is the methodology, right? Is the marketing tactics. It's the creative visionary. It's the choreo. There's so many things. And fans love that. And they want to be part of that process, right? So we created this audition show, which in America, to be really honest with you, shows like American Idol or The Voice, they're, and you know, don't come for me, but they're just good for like TV, right? But you're not really building an artist from that the way K-pop has done. So that is such a special part of that fandom, and to recreate that or to share that with a Western audience and have them be part of that process, I think is so important. It's their loyalty, it's everything. They are the ones that shape what goes on with the artists. They have such a loud voice, and it's, you know, what he said, it's their devotion, and that, you know, shapes everything that we do.
That's their identity, the engagement is pretty amazing. Sarah, you know, coming from the DSP side, I'm sure that, you know, superfans may represent or look or act different on your platforms as well. But what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I concur with everything that they were saying. I mean, the big thing around the heart of Superfan is the deep emotional connection, that unwavering attachment that they have for the artists. They become the powerful advocates. They are financial supporters. They're so invested in their artists' success. They get competitive. They're so dedicated, and they play an active role. One of the things that really stands out for me, like not even just from the DSP perspective, but definitely from the DSP perspective, how they can galvanize. Like, they have a sense of community, like June mentioned, and their ability to galvanize, it's really stunning. Like they will get together, like, digitally and be like, okay, we need to get this artist to #1. Here's how we're going to do it. And they actually inform each other on how to make these things happen. Like they're creating content. They check with us in DMs to like, is this correct? Is this how we do it? So yeah, I mean, they're very meticulous in how to support their artists. And, so at Tidal, I'm the lead for Artists to Watch program, which is our program that we identify a few artists who we think are really going to make it big that year. Cat's Eye being one of them this year. And then we also, this year, we have an artist named Corbin Besson on the roster, who used to be in Why Don't We, which is a boy band. When we did the announcement about our Artists to Watch for this year, the comments from the icons and the limelights, because all these fandoms have names, it was stunning. Like, I mean, they were going so hard for them in terms of support, and that kind of stuff stands out to us. So we know that's who we lean into because we want the engagement as well. Also, I'll say, one more point. If I do like an artist visit or something at Tidal, and if they have a very leaned-in fan base, those fans start following me, and they're very active in my socials, even if the artist came by one time. So, I mean, even today before I got here, like I have several artists' fan accounts following me and interacting with me, and I'm like, I haven't worked with this artist in a very long time, but thanks, But yeah, so they have a lot of key behaviors. They're savvy marketers, they're content makers, they're super hungry, it's never enough for them, you cannot get enough. And, even if the artist has, say, like a brand partnership, those fans are going to support that brand partnership because it's part of their artist. So, I mean, it's really it's amazing to see. And I don't think like it's really changed that much over time. Like, not to date myself, but I was voting on TRL to get my fans up there, and it's the same kind of thing, just a little different. And now the reach is so great with digital platforms. Like, it's just different. And I do think artists' appetite to participate is different now than it used to be. There used to be a little bit more gating happening. Like maybe you could get a meet and greet at a show, but that was really it. Now artists are realizing that they have to create whole experiences for their fans to establish like a deeper connection. There's also, fangirls. Fangirls have huge, unmatched type of impact for artists, and they over-index in terms of how they spend, what they do for concerts, merch, streaming numbers, all of that. And I mentioned TRL. My personal thing is I'm also a super fan. So I'm a super fan of Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, again, to date myself. But I joined the fan clubs back in the day. Even last year, I did a South by panel, and I found out the night before I had a ticket to Justin Timberlake's Thunderplay. I booked the only flight that would get me there. I had to talk to my moderator at the panel, being like, I cannot stay after the Q&A ends. Like, I have to run, and I defied physics to get to the airport to get to that show. So truly, I ran. I felt like I was in a rom-com because people were applauding me as I ran out the convention center.
This is the vibe of Superfan.
Truly, I mean, when I say I'm a day one, it's me. I am her. Yeah, I mean, I'm a day one, but but I understand all the perspectives. Like, I've done artist management. Like, I worked with D'Angelo, and yes.
So I heard that too. Yeah.
Wow.
I got him to the Apollo for verses. But yeah, I mean, today a D'Angelo fan account started following me, and I haven't worked with him in several years. So, it doesn't go away. I managed an artist who went #1 overnight. We immediately had fans showing up to the hotel. It's crazy how that all goes into effect in what fans will do, including me.
I love those stories. It kind of makes me think, though, too. I think that the term superfan, we've been hearing it a lot lately, but this is obviously not a new concept, right? I think that anybody who's seen all of those videos of the Beatles or Elvis Presley, those were all superfans. Everybody losing their minds, those were all superfans. And so, this is definitely not a new concept. I think probably what's new is that we probably have, a lot more ways to engage with them in a much more sophisticated sense too.
And globalized.
And globalized, right? You don't have to be in the Ed Sullivan Theater, right, anymore for that. So I know for those performances. So kind of brings us to our next topic. So why are superfans a critical audience for artists and businesses in the industry? What makes them so important to the foundation?
I'll answer that.
Yeah.
What makes a super fan so critical is a couple things. It's their voice, how loud they are. They are content creators. They're the ones, and I'll speak for just what my world that I'm in right now is, they're the ones creating these dance challenges. They're the ones doing the edits on Weverse that I find out a lot of information from that. They're the ones that amplify everything. As much as we're putting out content, they're putting out content. And it's also their purchasing power. These are the most devoted fans, and they're taking, just from artists making revenue from streaming and putting it to a whole new level, with their in K-pop, it's such a phenomenon that physical is still so massive that you are spending, millions of dollars. It's because of the packaging, it's because of the exclusive photo cards, and it's the community that's built around it that makes it so unique, right? So I think that those qualities are hypercritical to the fandoms.
Yeah, and the sustaining a long career as well, right? June, from your perspective, how are superfans and why are they so critical?
Mitra might have a lot of different angles because she's also in charge of the production part, and she'd be mindful enough. Sometimes, we all know that fans know better, even better than us, right? From platform's perspective, it might be a little bit different because we are in the middle, and superfans, I think it doesn't just apply to music industry. No matter you are a creator, musician, no matter what you produce and present to other people, you need core advocate to support your, art form or your career, your statement. You always have to start with those core. How you can go bigger without somebody who's strongly supporting you, right? So in that sense, they are important in both strategic and financially together. They are a big contributor to artist success and careers at the same time.
I just want to add something.
Sure, go ahead.
It's what's interesting is that they are so vocal and they're commenting, and we kind of, I'm sure other artists do this, but Icons, Cat's Eyes fandom, we really made a concerted effort to listen to them. And it's kind of this I think this like unsaid relationship, right? Where they want to be part of it and they come up with the funniest jokes or taglines, and we'll take that and we'll put that in our caption and we'll make them feel part of the process. And I think that that's really important to listen to your fans and bring them along and really highlight that. Yeah.
You sometimes feel funnier
I
than
do.
than your team produces.
I do. I love when we, the other day we did a short form and I was cracking up and I sent it to our digital team and I said, who came up with this caption? They're like, oh, the caption is from what all the fans said.
Exactly.
So we just took it and I'm like, this is fucking, excuse me, this is hilarious. I was like, this is so good. I love when the team listens to the fans, and fans, they love it back. And then because of that, and when they feel seen and heard, they want to be part of that discussion so much more, and they want to be your fan. And getting them in that early is so important. Yeah.
Yeah, think about the new generation, of course, including people, all the people in this room. They know how to leverage social media platforms. They're so tech savvy. They can play with all the things, and once they produce something, it's already global. So they create already measurable benefit for the artist. So that means a lot to all the artists. Simple thing at Weavers, preparing service that integrate with various music streaming service together, then listen to their curated music together and engage in real-time conversation. The biggest desire there is fans get together and boost the streaming count on Tidal. Hope you can provide the API.
We love it.
Yeah, we want to embrace Tidal fans on Weavers together. So that kind of behavior is very unique compared to the previous experience.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it definitely speaks to the fandom from that side as well. When they're joining those parties there. Sarah, do you have anything to add on that side?
Yeah, in terms of how fans are critical.
How fans are critical.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they, well, one thing I will say, and me being one of them, but a lot of, more about me, but a lot of fans also have learned how to create their passion into careers. So for instance, like I definitely have seen it, like, look, we're all in the industry because we like music, but some of us, like, we understood our artists on such a granular level that, and we're natural marketers, that we have careers now out of it, and we get to work in this industry that we love so much. And some of us get to work with the artists that we love so much, and some of the artists really appreciate it because we understand it differently. I mean, I've definitely have seen like labels, DSPs, management companies who will hire based on like, oh, you're a fan, we really appreciate your insights and stuff. Like even like Scooter Braun was really smart about identifying, folks who had fan accounts and hiring them. And some of them are leaders in the industry now. He's not alone. Like somebody I was with yesterday mentioned another example. I mean, it's definitely a thing. And, and speaking to community again, like in the pop space, for instance, a lot of my friends in the industry, like, we are all fangirls. We all, like, there's a whole contingency of us, including my friend over here, who's AJ from the Backstreet Boys publicist. So she's down here being my publicist today. But yeah, but there's a whole contingency of us. Like, we kind of stick together. I have a friend who's K-pop expert. He writes for Billboard. Like, there's a whole bunch of us, and we all know each other and kind of stick together because we understand each other. And I think that happens whether you're in the fandom just as fan to fan or fandom in the industry, but that's definitely something that I've noticed too.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Who better knows superfans than superfans themselves? And then June, I wanted to echo something that you said as well. Is that I think back, the early adopters, right? We've heard those sort of marketing terms and how important that is for any sort of a product, right? And I think those early adopters, those superfans, those are the ones who are going to champion. Those are the ones who are going to be there. They want to hear about it first. They want all the new material, and then they're gonna go tell everybody, right? And that's really critical to the overall industry. In terms of, there's probably some thought out there that only the big artists can have super fans, or only the super only on a Taylor Swift level can have super fans. But what we've seen is that maybe that's not true. And June, I'd love to hear your perspective on what role superfans can play for emerging or regional artists as well.
Emerging and regional. I see differences from country to other country. But out of 6 years of service from day one, we were lucky enough to start with BTS and ARMY. And we are in a very good position of taking a deep look into all the pain points, all the behaviors, and what would be the part we can fix and increase the, happiness of being a part of it. It was very lucky for us. And the learning I got out of that experience was that fandom psychology is universal. It's not for a specific country, specific genre, or specific region. think about how ARMY became this big out of last more than 10 years, right? So, from day one, yeah, from day one, it was like this. We started with e-commerce. Out of all the other things we are offering right now, we see a lot of people want to come to the concert, but they couldn't because they are on the other side of the planet. So they wanted to at least buy some merch and album from that. So from the beginning, we started e-commerce, but in a global scale, with just 30 people. It was crazy. So we started with e-commerce. After that, community was followed. And after that, we really wanted to solve hours of lines on the concert venue. So we came up with a pickup service, which is you just buy things on the app, on the Weavers app, and decide the pickup time, and you go there. It was very beneficial, not only for the fans, but also to the artists and labels, because thanks to eliminating the line, waiting line, it increases the revenue at the same time. So those kinds of things were the first effort we tried here and there. Then we moved on to membership service and the other things, 360, event facilitation, live streaming, concert streaming. It became very big during the COVID period. So in that sense, these days, when you're releasing something from day one, you are already international and global. You don't know from which country you're gonna find your superfan. So yeah, that's how I see it, and that's the reason why having a global mindset and making full use of all the different tools is very crucial right now.
That's great. That's a great point. You know, especially in today's global, interconnected world, we have services and DSPs that span the globe. So it doesn't really matter, right? If the artist is from Korea, there's a fan in France, or
Exactly.
that can find that music pretty easily within a couple of hours, probably, or even faster once it goes up. That's a great point. So, talking a little bit about identifying potential superfans, right? I know that we've all probably, there's been a lot of panels that have talked about a lot of data that we've heard about here at South by Southwest this week, and so there's a lot of data out there, and so at least one of the questions that I know that I always get from managers or others is how do I just go about identifying potential superfans, and then how do you reach and retain this community as well? Mitra, do you want to kick us off?
I do. I gotta think about this for a minute.
You're in a very good position starting with the audition, right?
But this is he said it. He talked about the global nature of it, right? And I think the best thing to share with everyone on that is why we created Cat's Eye, why we created a global girl group, because right there you have a built-in fandom, right? You have someone from Indian descent, someone from South Korea, someone from the Philippines, right? And when we were creating the audition show, to be really honest, I think everyone knows this. I mean, at least most people do, but we already knew that we had the Netflix documentary. And that's a really big marketing tool. And you can't go that big, right? You need to get people to believe from the beginning, and you need the real fans from the beginning. So we created this audition program, and it was, we joke about it was like the Olympics in a sense, right? People were rooting for their favorite contestant from Brazil, from Argentina, and that definitely played a huge role in who ended up being in the group. But for us, we knew that if we took the K-pop methodology and put it in a global sense, that this would be something that is unstoppable. You already are identifying fans from all over the world, and now you just have to bring them along. And how do you bring them along? Via content, being authentic, finding something aspirational or something that you love or you think is funny in, one of the members in this group. That's why, platforms like TikTok and Instagram and Weverse and the streaming platforms are so incredible. I always say it's so wild to be at Lollapalooza around 100 and some thousand people, and they're singing in Korean to a group and they don't even know Korean. Or you're at a Bad Bunny show and you're singing. I for years was obsessed. I still love him, sorry, but I was obsessed. Like I just thought he was genius, and every year I'd be like, I gotta learn Spanish, But I didn't care. It was just there was something that you as a fan identified with this particular artist, and I love being part of this group and touching people all over the world. I think it's so important, and I love that. Yeah.
I just had a quick question because you kind of touched it, but because I watched the show on Netflix, but so how much did it actually impact with the fan voting, with who you ended up going
with? A lot, you guys, a lot. Obviously we would have meetings and, Chairman Bang, John Janik from Interscope, the chairman of Interscope, myself, Sun, who is our executive creator, who was, very influential and the choreographer and the performance lead for BTS. He is now Cat's Eye's executive creator. We would have our opinions. We would talk about who we like, and there's so many things that go, it's not just their vocal talent or their dance talent. There's so much that goes into it, but it was what the fans wanted. You can't create something at this level so new, first of its kind, without taking input from the fans. So their fan voting. That was one of the things that we wanted to incorporate when we did the Dream Academy, so that you are building the foundation of this fan base, and the psychology of that fan is to create something, to be a part of it. And once you have them at that level, you just keep growing, because they're the ones that are the advocate for the group. They're the ones that share their love with their friends, and it's the community that I love about K-pop. It's, you can be this kid and maybe you have tons of friends, maybe you don't, but you're never alone when you are a Carrot or an ARMY or an NSYNC fan or Backstreet. That's the beauty of Superfans, right? It's the community.
And I think also that we have all these tools today too that really help us to identify who might be, who might be engaging the most, might be clicking the most or viewing the most. In terms of identifying those super fans, June, can you speak to that as well?
Identification. Retain. A simple answer from me might be use Weverse. That's the one best way. Yeah, we provide 360 solutions for every single need you have for the artists and fans together. I'm sorry, kidding. I'm sorry. I always encourage artists and labels all together make full use of social media, whatever you can imagine. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok are really big these days. Once you roll out something, you really need to maximize the awareness. And you'll never know from which region, which side of the planet you're gonna get bit. So making full use of social media is still very crucial, but they're very scattered. So after that, once you figure out or identify the fandoms, you have some way to retain them. And as I mentioned about the spectrum of behavior of superfans, when you pass that certain threshold, from fans' perspective, their needs and requirements simply explode. All the social media out there for the generic purpose use, they cannot fulfill all the things. So when we started, we got to know that one of the biggest pain point was that a super fan buy merch there, buy ticket there, get together here, there, here, there. It was all separated, and that was one of the big motivation for us, having them all together. Oh yeah, it was very ambitious goal. So for some people here who might not be familiar with Weavers, for how can I say it? From the people from U.S. perspective, it's like a mixture of Amazon, Reddit, Twitch, all together. Instagram, even Instagram. It sounds too much, but it's very tailor-made, especially for the global superstars and fans. So I think that's how that experience goes. Yep. So making full use of those different tools together is it's not just beneficial. It's like it's crucial. It's like must for all the artists and labels, I think.
I think that. Thank you for sharing that, and I think it kind of speaks to how advanced our technological tools are these days. Tools like Weavers and others that are able to house so many super fans and allow them to have a community there. One of the things that we talked about on the front end, I think, was how. Who is the super fan, and that sense of community, even in our Illuminate research that we've done, that sense of community is so important to them. They love being super fans and talking with other super fans. And
and one of the good examples from the label would be, because we provide all the data insight, analytics, they really want to figure out from which reason an artist has more super fans, so that they can design and map out the different products or tour out. So that's also another benefit.
Yeah. So one of the things that we've also kind of talked about a little bit is, the amount of super fans. And I noted at the top of the presentation, we actually have seen that in our data, we see that there are some more super fans. So moving fans down that funnel of casual fan, or in a conversation, June, you would call them light fans, and I really like that. I might use that at some point too. But going from light fan to super fan and how we get them there, what strategic approaches are there, Sarah, from your side, to help get fans to super fan status?
Strategic approaches. I mean, I think, at least from what we do and what I do, if I'm working on a music product and if it's geared towards something that would have fan engagement, like I really try to get into the mindset and channel the super fan and trying to understand what drives them. So one big thing that I've done is making sure that you're customizing experiences for the fans. So, whether it's from a brand perspective or not, but it's how you can deepen connection. When I say that, it's like adding an edge. Like the more you can customize, the more it's going to feel authentic for the fan, and they'll attach to it differently, and it will just resonate with them more. So, I mean, I've done that in a number of different ways. So, like at Tidal, for instance, we have this feature called Live. I've partnered with a number of artists. When I worked at Jammer, which was a STEM-based music app, that we would get stems from artists and we would flip it into a soundboard. So the idea when we were going into it was like, oh, fans can remix a song, that's great. But we started very quickly noticing different use cases for it, and we started tailoring accordingly. So for instance, we had a lot of Ariana fans because she had posted about us and essentially launched us. And so we started noticing that her fans in particular were really attaching to her isolated vocals. So we actually changed course in how we would make the soundboards so her fans could get a better experience based on what they were seeking. And then we also changed up our whole promo for it and everything to speak to the fan. So yeah, I think like the customization piece is really key. And, you know, even with that too, it's like learning how to, like, for instance, with the Ariana example, like I had to learn how to talk like an Arianator because I was running our socials and we had so many of them on there. So I was using her signature yas as much as I could. And the fans reacted. They actually thought Ari was running our socials at some point. So yeah, I mean, I think the more you can do that, the more it will just speak to the fans.
That's great. Yeah, the authenticity is very key. And you know, I'm also just listening to what super fans want, right? Mitra, from your perspective on bringing fans to super fan status, have you seen anything from your experiences?
I mean, yes. Yeah, we do a lot. You know, I think the most important thing is the constant fan engagement, right? I say this a lot when people ask me this. The difference between, if you want to say, a Western artist, if you will, is that they focus so much on their artistry, but you have to put that much attention equally into your fan engagement. I think that is a critical thing. So the ways that I love about K-pop and that we've incorporated into Cat's Eye is a fan signing. And a fan signing isn't just a quick little, you know, they get to spend time with the artists. You know, you sit in front of each member, you have a conversation, and that's such a unique experience for people. And I think that's what what's so great about the K-pop methodologies is just having that one-on-one or feeling that you're part of it and getting to know the artists on a more, you know, for lack of a better term, personal level. So it's, you know, we'll do Q&As, we do fan events, fan signings, content, and like I said earlier, listening to the fans. And I can't say or else I'll get sued, but we we did a Halloween event, and we really listened to what the fans wanted the members to dress as, and it was huge and it was massive, and the fans went crazy, and it was probably one of our top viral moments, because when you engage with them and you're listening with them, that helps. And I think I said this earlier, so forgive me, but when you make someone feel seen and heard, they want to be part of it. They are excited, and what more, you know, fun, rewarding thing to do is when the artist that you're working with sees you and recognizes you and makes jokes and dresses up in the Halloween costume that you want, and spends the time to sign but also talk to you and have a relationship with you and go on. I talk about this all the time. You know, when we were first approached to do Weverse DM, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna happen. You know,
Yeah,
but
you were like that.
they love it. The members love it, and it's that way to feel connected to your fans. So that's, I think, implementing all of these strategies in a genuine, real way is what builds and builds and builds upon, and that's when your fandom becomes bigger and bigger and bigger.
And I just want to double click on making your fans feel heard and seen. I think that's really key. I remember that from my previous life at a label too, and the sort of engagement, interactions, and the bonds that you can build with those fans through that is just completely different. Takes it to the next level for sure. So we've talked a bit about who the super fans are, the value that they bring, a little bit of how we can, you know, continue to engage with them. Each one of your respective business units and platforms have all dived into Superfans in a lot of ways. So would love to just kind of kick it off with what you're doing on the platform, what differentiates your platforms in terms of what you're bringing to the Superfan community. And June, I'll kick it over to you to start us off.
All right, differentiators. Yeah, I think I can talk about all the services, features we provide as a product. But I mean, Mitra just triggered the thing because when she talked about the engagement and that connection between people. No, sometimes I think most of the people here are a fan of something and be very devoted about something or someone, so that is good. But when I'm in a different situation, sometimes I see, I mean, statistically, so I see some part of the people are like a bit alienated when we talk about this happiness and this rewarding experience. So yeah, I think it's different per people's DNA. But the bottom line is we all of us are a fan of something or someone. And personally, I don't know, I'm allowed to say something personal, but I personally don't subscribe to the cults of personality. I mean, that's just who I am. But I'm a really big fan of a lot of things. So differentiator, when it comes to weavers, the biggest thing I could see from both artist and fan together is that both sides feel way safer, secured, friendly compared to the jungle of social media.
That's
So,
a good point.
I mean, they just know that Weavers is where the most loyal core fans are. Both sides knows that, so they feel safe, secure. One example. So, all right, Jungkook from BTS. All of a sudden, he started his Instagram account. I think he shut that down in like I don't know 6 months or 1 year. When he went to a restaurant, he wanted to post a picture on social media and Weavers. He did to both channels. To Instagram, he posted pretty one. And on Weavers, he just posted dirty plate. So that's the mindset and that's the atmosphere of superfans getting together and feel of belonging is really it's a really rewarding experience. So rather than talking about engineering side, all the features from the product perspective, that kind of the atmosphere is also very important, and Weavers is the place. Thank you.
Sarah, from Title's side, and what differentiates Title in terms of superfans?
Yeah, I mean, so Tidal, we're not for the passive listener. We have fans on there who care about the quality of music. We've always taken the quality very seriously. We want it to sound as the artist intended it to sound, so we don't diminish the quality. So we definitely have a very leaned-in listener who really cares and puts value behind the artists that they want to support. You know, we've been known to pay really well for artists for streams, and so I think that's definitely a big differentiator. We also, like, I sit on the editorial team, so I sit with all of the curators and programmers, and we are known for being high touch, very human-led curation, and I think we know that actually is felt from fans who like see the difference in how we do playlisting, for instance, and speaking to the authenticity and all of that. Like, you know, it's felt. So that's definitely a differentiator for us.
Excellent. And you know, I think as we're kind of getting into the back half or the back 10 minutes of the panel, not the back half, but you know, I wanted to make sure that we kind of talk about the future as well and some of the trends that we're seeing over maybe the next decade or so. So I want to open up the question to the panel of how do you envision the role of superfans evolving over the next decade?
I'm going to need help on this one. First and foremost, you know, superfans are only going to grow and grow and grow because of the generation, right? When I was growing up, wasn't online. There was no online. Let me be very clear about that. So these kids live online. That's where they are. That's what they know. So every few years, there's a new platform that helps shape what goes on with fandoms, right? There was YouTube and the community on YouTube. Then there's Instagram. Now it's TikTok. There's Weverse. There's the streaming platforms. There's so much. So it will continue to evolve. There's no other way to look at it. I think what's really interesting too is how it plays into, for example, a Bad Bunny. I'm going to bring up my guy, Bad Bunny again. When he was putting his tickets on sale, there was a quiz for the superfans so that the scalpers wouldn't be involved. I know other artists have been doing this too, but it's such a smart way to incorporate the superfan and again, make sure that the right people, that your fans are at the show. I love it. It's such a brilliant way to bring them in. So the superfan and how they are such a critical part of the business will keep evolving because I just think it's a natural inclination from the kids that are online and what's going on and the smart artists that recognize how important and how to bring them into the conversation. Yeah.
I think I got one of those quizzes for Oasis as well when I was getting tickets. And I ended up with tickets.
We're all super fans.
Sarah, how do you see superfans evolving over the next decade?
Yeah, I mean, well, I agree with Mitra. They're just growing, and their influence is definitely felt and heard. So they're here to stay. So I think what you're going to see is a lot more platforms like Tidal and Weverse really trying to figure out how to best serve artists and best serve fans. So I think we're just scratching the surface. Another thing too is I think a lot of super fans are starting to realize their influence and that they are marketers for their artists and that they are content creators and they're creating the trends that actually are impacting maybe changing a release strategy. So, I heard somebody reference even like when you deliver a song now, you have to think of it as clay because it could totally shift based on something that's really sticky on TikTok, and then you kind of have to pivot strategy. So, or your release strategy is clay. So you have to be willing to adapt and adopt. And so I think you're just going to keep seeing platforms doing that.
Excellent, thank you. And June, how do you see some of the trends shaping up for superfans over the next decade or so?
As I mentioned before, we were so lucky enough to start the beginning of superfans in a global scale, thanks to BTS and ARMY. From day one, we never expected we would grow up to the level where we are right now. It has been 6 years, 150 million downloads, tens of millions of users, especially 10 million monthly. It's a lot in 6 months. I'm sorry. Oh, wow, 6 years. 6 years. So, superfan is the future. Let me rephrase this. We are already in the era of superfan, and it will only grow bigger. And this is the fact. I don't think it's an opinion. So more than that would be, when I said global, this is exactly the case from Weverse. When I mentioned the 10 million monthly actives, we started from Korea, but it's only 10% the traffic from Korea. So 90% coming to Weverse is from US, Japan, Indonesia, India, Mexico, China. So from over 200 countries. That's the reason why I say when you release something from day one, you are global. You have to figure out where your fans are. So obvious. Psychology of fandom remains universal. It's a very rewarding experience, and it's gonna only grow.
Well, I think that now as we're starting to wrap up here, I just wanted to make sure that we, number one, I thank our panel. It's been so wonderful talking with you this hour, and also over the preps that we have done for this panel as well. But I just want to double click on a couple of things, I think, for our audience as we're starting to wrap it up as well. And, I think we've heard about authenticity, right? We've heard about engaging. One thing that I've always recognized is that if you ask the fans, or if you want to know an answer, just ask the fans, because they will tell you, and they'll come quickly with their answers. And so I think authenticity, understanding that the community around superfans is very important, allowing them to be superfans, giving them the ability to do that. And then, also, June, the global aspect of it. It really, I think this kind of speaks to, either people being able to be a superfan of yours from all over the world, or also helping smaller artists, maybe in an area that, it doesn't have as strong a music scene just built in, but, understanding that they can connect with others online and start to build their own superfandom as well. So it covers everybody. So I want to thank our panel once again. It's been wonderful. I want to thank you all for coming and joining us to talk about superfans. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.